Welcome, everybody, to another scary episode of the Chelada Dead Boys. Hey, everybody. It is your boy Dylan.
This is Posh.
And we are the Chelada Dead Boys.
What's up?
Welcome back to another installment of this month's Scary Stories. This week we're just going to tell some spooky stories for you guys to check out. Posh, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. Doing real good. Just had the baby's birthday party. That went well. Nothing new, man. Nothing
Just
new. What about you? You're in Connecticut right now, so.
I'm in Connecticut right now. Hey, yeah, we're recording this episode a little early, but it's for the greater good. It's for the greater good. Posh, you got a scary. It's gonna be a short one. We're just gonna tell a couple stories. Hopefully you guys enjoy it.
I do have a scary story.
Okay.
It is called This New Old House by Bat Out of Hell 821. Okay, you ready?
Let's hear it.
Okay. We bought an old house. Oh, this is told from the perspective of a woman, by the way. So I'm gonna be a woman in this one. So when I say my boyfriend, don't.
Okay. No, you're good.
Don't judge me. Okay. We bought an old house, my boyfriend and I. He's in charge of the new construction, converting the kitchen into the master bedroom, for instance, while I'm on wallpaper removal duty. The previous owner papered every wall and ceiling. Removing it is brutal, but oddly satisfying. The best feeling is getting a long peel, similar to your skin when you're peeling from a sunburn. I don't know about you, but I kind of make a game of peeling, on the hunt for the longest piece before it rips under a corner section. Under a corner section of paper in every room is a person's name and date. Curiosity got the best of me one night, and I Googled one of the names and discovered the person was actually a missing person, the missing date matching. The date under the wallpaper, I'm sorry, I'm messing this up.
It's all good. It's all good.
The next day, I made a list of all the names and dates. Sure enough, each name was of a missing person with a date to match. We notified the police who naturally sent out a crime scene unit. I overheard one of the techs say, "Yep, it's human." Human what? Human? Ma'am, where is the material you removed from the walls already? This is not wallpaper you're removing.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
So I kind of read that messed up, but if you missed the gist of the story, this lady and this guy moved into a house, started removing wallpaper, found dates and names on their corner of their wall, looked them up, found out they're missing people, and found out the wallpaper that they were removing was actually human skin.
Oh, my God.
Dark.
Bro, that
one gave me the chills. This is the first story I read, and it spooked me, and I was like, I got to write this down. I got to write this.
So the story that I'm about to tell is pretty extensive. Viewer discretion is advised because this is very fucking disturbing. We're going to do this. You got one more, right?
I do, yeah.
We're going to do this one, and then Pasha's going to do his last one, and then that's going to be the episode, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. But this here is the story is about the murder of Sylvia Likens. Give you a little background on the woman who used to keep Sylvia Likens and her sister. Her name's Gertrude Beniz. Give me a second. Gertrude Beniszewski. Gertrude Beniszewski. She was born in Indianapolis, Indiana, to Molly Myrtle and Marcus Van Vossen Sr., both of whom were originally from Illinois and were American and Dutch descent. Baniszewski was the third of 6 children, and her family was a working class. On October 5th, 1939, Baniszewski saw her 50-year-old father die from a sudden heart attack. 6 years later, she dropped out of high school at the age of 16 to marry 18-year-old John Stephen Baniszewski, who was originally from Youngsville, Pennsylvania, and was of Polish ancestry, and to whom she bore 4 children. Although John Baniszewski had a volatile temper and occasionally beat his wife, the two would remain together for 10 years prior to the first divorce. Following her divorce, Baniszewski married a man named Edward Guthrie. The marriage lasted just 3 months before the couple divorced. Shortly after, Baniszewski remarried her first husband, bearing him 2 more children. The couple divorced for the second time in 1963. Weeks after the third divorce, Baniszewski began a relationship with a 22-year-old man named Dennis Lee Wright, who also physically abused her. She had 1 child with Wright, Dennis Lee Wright Jr. Shortly after the birth of his son, Wright abandoned Baniszewski. Shortly thereafter, Baniszewski filed a paternity suit against Wright for financial support for their child, although Wright was seldom able to pay for the upkeep of their son. By 1965, Baniszewski lived alone with her 7 children: Paula, 17, Stephen, 15, John, 12, Marie, 11, Shirley, 10, James, 8, and Dennis Lee Wright, 1. Although 36 years old and 5 feet 6 inches tall, she weighed only 100 pounds and has been described as a haggard, underweight asthmatic. Chain smoker suffering from depression due to the stress of 3 failed marriages, a failed relationship, and a recent miscarriage. In addition to the sporadic checks she received from her first husband, a former Indianapolis policeman, which she primarily relied upon for financial support for her children, Baniszewski occasionally performed odd jobs for neighbors and acquaintances, such as sewing or cleaning in order to earn money. Baniszewski resided in Indianapolis at 3850 East New York Street, where the monthly rent was $55 a month. Now, let's give you a little backstory on Sylvia Likens. Sylvia Likens, born January 3rd, 1949, was the third of 5 children born to carnival workers Lester Cecil Likens and his wife Elizabeth Betty Francis. She was born between 2 sets of fraternal twins, Daniel and Diana, 2 years older than she, and Benny and Jenny, 1 year younger. Jenny Likens suffered from polio, caused one of her legs to be weaker than the other. She was afflicted with a notable limp and had to wear a steel brace on her leg. Lester and Elizabeth's marriage was unstable. They often sold candy, beer, and soda at carnival stands around Indiana throughout the summer. Moving frequently and regularly experiencing severe financial difficulties, the Likens' son regularly traveled with them in order to assist with their job. But Sylvia and Jenny were discouraged to do the same. Out of concern for the safety and education of the children, as a result, both sisters were frequently staying with relatives, often their grandmother. In her teenage years, Sylvia Likens occasionally earned spending money by babysitting, running errands, or performing ironing chores for friends and neighbors, often giving her mother part of her earnings. She has been described as a friendly, confident, and lively girl with long, wavy, light brown hair extending below her shoulders, was known as Cookie to her friends. Although exuberant, Likens always kept her mouth shut when smiling due to missing front tooth, which she had lost while roughhousing with one of her brothers during her childhood game. She also had a fondness for music, in particular the Beatles, and was notably protective of her markedly more timid and insecure young sister. On several occasions, the two sisters would visit a local skating rink where Sylvia would help Jenny, her younger sister, skate by holding her hand while Jenny skated on her unaffected foot. By June 1965, Sylvia and Jenny Likens resided with their parents in Indianapolis. On July 3rd, their mother was arrested for subsequently jailed for shoplifting. Shortly after, Lester Likens arranged for his daughters to board with Gertrude Baniszewski, the mother of the 2 girls with whom the sisters had recently become acquainted with studying Arsenal Technical High School. Paula and Stephanie Baniszewski, at the time of this boarding agreement, Gertrude assured Lester that she would care for his daughters until his return, as if they were his own children. Shortly after the July 4th holiday, the sisters moved into 3850 East New York Street in order for their father later in order for their father and later their mother to travel to East Coast with the carnival, with the understanding that Gertrude would receive weekly benefit boarding fees of $20 to care for their daughters until they returned to collect Sylvia and Jenny in November of that year. During the initial weeks in which Sylvia and Jenny resided in the Baniszewski household, the sisters were subject to very little discipline or abuse. Likens regularly sang along with pop records with Stephanie, and she willingly participated housework with the Baniszewski residents. Both girls also regularly attended Sunday school with the Baniszewski children, with the pastor commending Sylvia's piety. Although Lester Likens had agreed to pay Gertrude Baniszewski a $20 a week payment in exchange for the care of his daughters, after approximately 2 weeks, the payments failed to consistently arrive upon the prearranged dates, occasionally arriving 1 or 2 days late. In response, Gertrude began venting her frustration at this act upon the sisters by beating them bare buttocks with various instruments, such as a 1/4 inch thick paddle, making statements such as, "Well, I took care of you two little bitches for a week for nothing." On one occasion, in late August, both girls were beaten approximately 15 times on the back of the aforementioned paddle, after Paula had accused the sisters of eating too much food at church supper the household children had attended. By mid-August 1965, Gertrude Baniszewski had begun to focus her abuse almost exclusively on Sylvia, with her primary motivation likely being jealous of her physical appearance and potential in life. According to subsequent trial testimony, the abuse was initially inflicted upon Sylvia after she and Jenny had returned to the Baniszewski residence from Arsenal Technical High School, as well as on weekends. The initial abuse included subjecting Likens to beatings and starvation, forcing her to eat leftovers and spoiled food out of garbage cans. On one occasion, Likens was arrested for stealing candy she had actually purchased. On one occasion, she was accused. Did I say arrested?
You said accused.
Okay. On another occasion, in late August, Likens was subjected to humiliation when she claimed to have a boyfriend in Long Beach, whom she met in the spring of '65 when her family lived in California. In response to hearing this, Gertrude asked if she had ever done anything with a boy, to which Likens, unsure of her meaning, replied, "I guess so," and offered that she had gone skating with the boys there, and had once gone to a park on the beach with them and Jenny. Continuing conversation with Stephanie Baniszewski and Jenny, Likens mentioned that she had once laid under the covers with a boy. Upon hearing this, Gertrude asked, Why did you do that, Sylvia?" Likens replied, "I don't know," and shrugged, and several days later, Gertrude returned to the subject with Likens, telling her, "You're certainly getting big in the stomach, Sylvia. It looks like you're going to have a baby." Likens thought Gertrude was kidding with her and said, "Yeah, it sure is getting big. I'm just going to have to go on a diet." However, Gertrude then informed her and the other girls in the house that whenever they did something with a boy, they would be sure to have a baby. She then kicked Likens in the genitals. Paula, herself overweight, 3 months pregnant, and also jealous of Likens' physical appearance, then participated in attacking Likens, knocking her off of a chair into the kitchen floor, shouting, "You ain't fit to sit in a chair." On occasion, as the family ate supper, Gertrude, Paula, and neighborhood boy Randy Gordon Lepper force-fed Likens a hot dog overloaded with condiments, including mustard, ketchup, and spices. Likens vomited as a result and was later forced to consume what she had regurgitated.
Oh, God.
In what was Likens' only act of retaliation, she alleged to have spread a rumor at Arsenal Technical High School that Stephanie and Paula Baniszewski were prostitutes. She supposedly did this because she was upset with the household singling her out for similar accusations. While at school, Stephanie was jokingly proportioned by a boy who told her that Likens had started the rumor about her. Upon returning home that day, Stephanie questioned Likens about the rumor, and she admitted to starting it. Stephanie punched her in response, but Likens apologized to her in tears and Stephanie then also began to cry. However, Stephanie's boyfriend, 15-year-old Coy Randolph Hubbard, heard the rumor. He brutally attacked Likens, slapping her, banging her head against the wall, and flipping her backwards into the floor. When Gertrude found out, she used a paddle to beat Likens. On another occasion, Paula beat Likens about the face with such force that she broke her own wrist, having primarily focused her brows upon Likens' teeth and eyes. Her blows. Later, Paula used the cast of her wrist to further beat Likens. Gertrude repeatedly falsely accused Likens of promiscuity and engaging in prostitution, delivering rants to Likens regarding the filthiness of the prostitution and women in general. Gertrude would later occasionally force Jenny to strike her own sister, beating Jenny if she did not comply. Coy Hubbard and several other classmates frequently visited the Baniszewski residence to both physically and verbally torment Likens, often collaborating with Baniszewski's children and Gertrude herself. With the active encouragement of Gertrude, these neighborhood children routinely beat Likens, sometimes using her as a practice dummy in violent judo sessions, lacerating her body, burning her skin with cigarettes in excess of 100 times, and severely injuring her genitals. To entertain Gertrude and her teenage occupancies, Likens was forced at one point to strip naked in the family living room and masturbate with a glass of Pepsi Cola bottle in their presence.
Oh, God.
With Gertrude stating to all the present that this act of humiliation was for Sylvia to prove Jenny what kind of girl you really are. Gertrude eventually forbade Likens from attending school after she confessed to having stolen a gym suit from the school due to Gertrude having refused to purchase her clothing. For this act of theft, Gertrude whipped Likens with a 3-inch wide police belt. Gertrude then switched her conversation to the evils of premarital sex before repeatedly kicking Likens in the genitals as Stephanie rallied to Likens' defense, shouting, "She didn't do anything." Gertrude then burned Likens' fingertips with matches before further whipping her. A few days later, Gertrude repeatedly whipped Jenny with the police belt after she reportedly stole a single tennis shoe from the school to wear on her strong foot. The Likens sisters were fearful of notifying either family members or adults at their school of the increasing incidents of the abuse and neglect they were enduring, as both were afraid that doing so would only worsen the predicament. Jenny in particular struggled against the urge to notify family members, as she had been threatened by Gertrude that she would herself be abused and tortured to the same degree as her sister if she did so. Jenny was also subjected to bullying by girls in the neighborhood, in addition to occasionally being ridiculed and beaten whenever she alluded to Sylvia's situation. In July and August, both Lester and Elizabeth Likens would occasionally return to Annapolis to visit their daughters whenever their travel schedule afforded them the opportunity. The last occasion Lester and Elizabeth visited their daughters was in late August. On this occasion, neither girl exhibited any visible sign of distress about their mistreatment to their parents. This was likely because both were in the presence of Gertrude and her children. Almost immediately after Lester and Elizabeth had left the Baniszewski household on their final visit, Gertrude turned to face Likens and said, "What are you going to do now, Sylvia? Now they're gone." On one occasion in September, the girls encountered their older sister, Diana Shoemaker, at a local park. Both Jenny and Sylvia informed Diana about the abuse and they were enduring at the hands of their caregiver, adding that Sylvia has been specifically targeted for physical abuse and almost always for things that she had neither said nor done. Neither sister mentioned the actual address where they resided, and initially Diana believed her sisters must be exaggerating their claims regarding the scope of the mistreatment. Several weeks prior to this, Sylvia and Jenny had encountered Diana in the same park while in the company of 11-year-old Marie Baniszewski, and Sylvia had been given a sandwich to eat when she mentioned to her sister she was hungry. Likens remained silent about the matter, although Marie revealed the fact to the family in late September. In response, Gertrude accused Likens of engaging in gluttony before she and Paula choked and bludgeoned her. The pair then subjected Likens to scalding bath in order to cleanse her of sin. with Gertrude grabbing Likens' hair and repeatedly banging her head against the bath to revive her whenever she fainted. Shortly after this incident, the father of a neighborhood boy named Michael John Monroe phoned Arsenal Technical High School to anonymously report that a girl with open sores across her entire body was living at the Baniszewski household. As Likens had not attended school for several days, a school nurse visited East New York Street to investigate these claims. Gertrude claimed to the nurse that Likens had run away from her home the previous week and she was unaware of the actual whereabouts, adding that Likens was out of control and that her open sores were the result of Likens' refusal to maintain decent personal hygiene. Gertrude further claimed that Likens was a bad influence on both her own children and her sister. The school made no further investigations concerning Likens' welfare. The immediate neighbors of the Baniszewski family were a middle-aged couple named Raymond and Phyllis Vermillion. Both initially viewed Gertrude as an ideal caregiver for the Likens sisters, and both had visited the Baniszewski residence on 2 occasions while the girls were under Gertrude's care. On both occasions, Vermillions witnessed Paula physically abuse Likens, who on both occasions had a black eye, and openly boasting about her mistreatment of the children to them. Upon the second visit of Baniszewski's household, both observed Likens to appear I've lost my spot. Oh my god. Likens to appear extremely meek and somewhat zombified in nature. Nevertheless, the Vermillions never reported Likens as evident mistreatment to the authorities. On or about October 1st, Diana Shoemaker discovered that her sister was temporarily residing in the Baniszewski residence. She visited the property in an attempt to initiate regular contact. Gertrude, however, refused Diana entrance to her property, stating that she had permission from the parents to not allow other girls to see her. She then ordered Diana off the property. Approximately 2 weeks later, Diana encountered Jenny by chance close to the home and inquired as to Sylvia's welfare. She was informed, I can't tell you or I'll get in trouble. Due to the increase of the frequency and brutality of the torture and mistreatment she had subjected to, Likens gradually became incontinent. She was denied any access to bathroom, being forced to wet herself. As a form of punishment for her incontinence, on October 6, Gertrude threw Likens into the basement and tied her up. Here, Likens was often kept naked, rarely fed, and frequently deprived of water. Occasionally, she was tied to the railing of the basement with her feet barely touching the ground. In the weeks prior to locking Likens in the basement, Gertrude had increasingly abused and tormented Likens. She would occasionally falsely claim to the children in the household that either she herself or one of them had been the recipient of direct insults from Likens in hopes that she would goad them into belittling or attacking her. On one occasion, Gertrude held a knife aloft and challenged Likens to fight back, to which she replied that she did not know how to fight. In response, Gertrude inflicted a light scorn wound to Likens' leg. Physical and mental torment such as this was occasionally seized by the Baniszewskis to watch their favorite television show. Neighborhood children were occasionally charged 5 cents apiece to see the display of Likens' body and humiliate, beat, scald, burn, and ultimately mutilate her. Throughout Likens' captivity in the basement, Gertrude frequently, with the assistance of her children and neighborhood children, restrained and gagged Likens before placing her in a bathtub filled with scalding water and proceeded to rub salt into her wounds. On one occasion, Gertrude and her 12-year-old son, John Jr., rubbed urine and feces from Gertrude's 1-year-old son's diaper into Likens' mouth. Oh, my God. Before giving her a half cup filled with water and stating the water would be all she would receive for the remainder of the day. On October the 22nd, John Baniszewski Jr. tormented Likens by offering her to allow her to eat a bowl of soup with her fingers and then quickly taking the bowl away from Likens. By this stage of suffering from extreme malnourishment, she had attempted to eat the bowl and it was taken from her. Gertrude Baniszewski eventually eventually allowed Likens to sleep upstairs on the condition that she learned to not wet herself. That night, Sylvia whispered to Jenny to secretly give her a glass of water before she slept. The following morning, Gertrude discovered that Likens had urinated on herself. As a punishment, Likens was forced to insert an empty glass Coca-Cola bottle into her vagina in the presence of the Baniszewski children before Gertrude ordered her into the basement. Shortly thereafter, Gertrude shouted to the Likens to return to the kitchen, then ordered her to strip naked before claiming to her, "You have branded my daughters, now I'm going to brand you." She began carving the words, "I'm a prostitute and proud of it," into Likens' abdomen with a heated needle. When Gertrude was unable to finish the branding, she instructed one of the neighborhood children present, 14-year-old Richard Dean Hobbs, to finish etching the words into Likens' flesh as she took Jenny to the nearby grocery store. And what Hobbs would later incite were short, light etchings. He continued to brand the text into Likens' abdomen and she clenched her teeth and moaned. Both Hobbs and 10-year-old Shirley Baniszewski then led Likens into the basement where each proceeded to use an anchor bolt in an attempt to burn the letter S beneath Likens' left breast, although they applied one section of a loop backwards, and this deep burn scar would resemble the number 3. Gertrude later taunted Likens by claiming she would never be able to marry due to the carving in her stomach. "Sylvia, what are you going to do now? You can't get married. What are you going to do?" Weeping, Likens replied, "I guess there's nothing I can do." Later that day, Likens was forced to display the carving to neighborhood children, with Gertrude claiming that she had received the inscription at a Six party. That night, Sylvia confided in her sister, "Jenny, I know you don't want me to die, but I'm going to die. I can tell it." The following day, Gertrude Baniszewski woke Likens, then forced her to write a letter, and as she dictated the contents, which she was intended to mislead her parents into believing the daughter had run away from Baniszewski's residence. The content of the letter was intended to frame a group of anonymous local boys to extensively abusing and mutilating Likens after she had initially agreed to engage in sexual relations with them before they inflicted extreme abuse and torture on her body. After Likens had written this letter, Gertrude finished formulating her plan to have John Jr. and Jenny blindfold Sylvia, then take her to a nearby wooded area known as Jimmy's Forest and leave her there to die. After she had finished writing the letter, Likens was again tied to the stair railing and offered crackers to eat, although she refused them, saying, "Give it to the dog, I don't want it." In response, Gertrude forced the crackers into Likens' mouth before she and John Baniszewski beat her, particularly around the stomach. On October the 25th, Likens attempted to escape the basement after overhearing a conversation between Gertrude and John Baniszewski Jr. pertaining to the family's plan to abandon her to die. She attempted to flee to the front door, however, due to her extensive injuries and general weakness, Gertrude caught her before she could escape the property. Likens was given toast to eat, but was unable to consume the food due to her extreme dehydration. Gertrude forced the toast into the mouth and repeatedly struck her in the face with a curtain rod until the sections of the instrument were bent into right angles. Coy Hubbard then took the curtain rod from Gertrude and struck Likens one further time, rendering her unconscious. Gertrude then dragged Likens into the basement. That evening, Likens desperately attempted to alert neighbors by screaming for help and hitting the walls of the basement with a spade. One immediate neighbor of the Baniszewskis would later inform police she had heard a desperate commotion and that she had identified the source as emanating from the basement at 3850 East New York Street. But as the noise had suddenly ceased to happen at approximately 3 a.m., she decided not to inform the disturbance. By the morning of October 26th, Likens was unable to speak intelligibly or correctly coordinate the movement of her limbs. Gertrude moved Likens into the kitchen and, having propped her back against the wall, attempted to feed her a donut and a glass of milk. She threw Likens to the floor in frustration when Likens was unable to correctly move the glass of milk to her lips. She was then returned to the basement. Shortly thereafter, Likens became delirious, repeatedly moaning and mumbling. When Paula asked her to recite the English alphabet, Likens was unable to recite anything beyond the first 4 letters or to raise herself from the ground. In response, Paula verbally threatened her to either stand up or she would inflict a long jump upon her. Gertrude then ordered Likens, who had defecated, to clean herself. That afternoon, several of Likens' other tormentors gathered in the basement. Likens jerkingly moved her arms in an attempt to point at the faces of the tormentors she could recognize, making statements like, "You're Ricky," and "You're Gertie," before Gertrude tirelessly shouted, "Shut up! You know who I am." Minutes later, Likens unsuccessfully attempted to bite into a rotten pear she had been given to eat, stating that she could feel the looseness in her teeth. Upon hearing this, Jenny replied, "Don't you remember, Sylvia? Your front teeth were knocked out when you were 7. Jenny then left Sylvia in the basement to perform gardening chores from neighbors in the hope of earning spending money. In an attempt to wash Likens laughing, a John Baniszewski sprayed her with a garden hose brought to the house that afternoon by Randy Lepper at Gertrude's request. Likens had again desperately attempted to exit the basement but collapsed before she could reach the stairs. In response to the effort, Gertrude stamped upon Likens' head before standing and staring at her for several moments. Shortly after 5:30 p.m., Richard Hobbs returned to the Baniszewski residence and immediately proceeded to the basement. He slipped on the wet basement floor and fell heavily to the floor of the basement to be confronted with the sight of Stephanie crying and cuddling Likens' emaciated and lacerated body after she had been ordered by her mother to clean Sylvia. Stephanie and Richard then began to give Likens a warm, soapy bath and dress her in new clothes. They then laid her upon a mattress in one of the bedrooms. As Sylvia murmured her final words, which was a wish that says she wished Daddy was here, and that Stephanie would take her home. Stephanie then turned to her younger sister, Shirley, exclaiming, "Oh, she'll be all right." When Stephanie realized that Likens was not breathing, she attempted to apply mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, as Gertrude repeatedly shouted to the children that Likens was faking it. Likens was 16 years old when she succumbed to her injuries. Gertrude Baniszewski initially beat Likens' corpse with a book, shouting, "Faker, faker," in order to rouse her. However, she soon panicked and instructed Richard Hobbs to call the police with a nearby payphone. When police arrived at the address at approximately 6:30, Gertrude led the police to Likens' emaciated, extensively bludgeoned, and mutilated body lying upon a soiled mattress in a bedroom. Before handing them the letter that she forced Likens to write previously by her dictation. She also claimed that she had been doctoring the children for an hour or more before her death, having applied rubbing alcohol to Likens' wounds in a futile attempt to first aid before she died. She added that Likens had earlier ran away from the home with several teenage boys before returning to her house earlier that afternoon, bare-breasted and clutching the note. Clutching a Bible, Paula Baniszewski, having stated to all present in the household that Likens' death was meant to be, then glanced in Jenny's direction and calmly stated, "If you want to live with us, Jenny, we will treat you like our own sister." As previously instructed by Gertrude, Jenny Likens recited and rehearsed versions of events leading to Likens' death to the police, before whispering to one of the officers, "You get me out of here, and I'll tell you everything."
Oh my God, dude.
That is a fucked up story.
They tortured that girl.
Yeah, the bitch went to jail.
Good.
And all of them. I mean, all of them were fucking
committed for that.
Yeah, she denied it, but she was sentenced to life in prison. I mean, that is some of the most fucked up form of torture and abuse that.
Why are you making this girl masturbate with a Coke bottle all the time?
Among other things, though.
Yeah,
I mean,
still fucked up, dude. That's crazy.
That is a disturbing story.
Okay.
Posh?
This next story, I need you to think of me as a college student.
Okay, you're a college student.
I'm a college student. Everyone gets excited about the first day of school. It's new opportunities, chance to make new friends, just new everything, really.
Right.
But I like the first day of school for a different reason.
Because you get to put that new outfit on.
No.
And be fresh. Oh.
Because I can sense auras in people. And when I look at people, I can see how much time they have left to live. For most people my age, I look at them and I see a green aura, which means they have plenty of time left. But for some, I see an orange-yellow tint. These are the people who die in a car crash or suddenly or tragically. The people who are gone before their time, so to say. And then some people I see have red auras. These are the people who get murdered or kill themselves. So, for me, the first day of school is a little different. So I get there early so I can see the fate of my classmates. The first person that walks in the door has a bright red aura. I chuckle to myself and I think, sucks for you, bro. But then, as the class fills up, everyone has a red aura.
Oh, shit.
I look at all these people coming in with red auras and I start to panic, and I look over at myself in the mirror and I see a rose tint in my own aura. And as I see it, I'm stunned in fear, and I look back. And as I look back, the professor had just walked in and locked the door with a sickening green aura.
Oh, shit. Oh, the teacher gonna kill you.
The end. Y'all want another bonus one?
Yeah. Oh,
You
you
want
got
a bonus
you got
one? I got
another
another bonus
I
one
like that
for you.
little short story. That's good.
Okay, another bonus for you. It's Monday morning. It's the perfect plan.
That's all you need
Yeah.
right there. Monday morning.
Yeah, scary. It's Monday morning. It's the perfect plan. Nobody even knows we're friends. Tuesday, he stole the gun from his dad's cabinet. Wednesday was the day. We went in. Everybody at the school was at the auditorium for the pep rally. My goal was to cover the door and shoot the first person that came through. Well, I shot Mr. Quinn, our guidance counselor, right in the face 3 times. He fell back into the auditorium. I passed the gun to my friend and I said, "It's your turn." He ran into the auditorium and started shooting. But before he could hit anybody, I ran in and I tackled him. I wrenched the guns from his hand, I turned it on him, I shot him in the head. Friday, I was anointed a hero. It really was the perfect plan.
Oh, shit, bro. That is a perfect... No, it's not.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Damn. Them was both some goodies.
Thank
I
you.
like those quick stories like that.
Yeah,
They're
I
like-
try to do them quick.
Those are
ones,
heavy hitters.
Yeah,
oh, shit.
in an instant.
Yeah.
I'm better from the mind than what I did reading off
Yeah,
that.
that was good shit.
all mental.
That was good shit.
That was all from the
The
mind.
fucking... my ADHD loves the short stories. I know mine was a winded one, but damn, that was pretty demented.
Yeah. Yeah, what they did to her was
That's a
fucked
true
up.
story, and it's fucking horrifying.
Yeah, that's scary.
Rest in peace, Sylvia Likens.
Yeah.
That happened in Indiana.
Because you definitely didn't live in peace.
Man, that's tough.
Yeah.
When was that? That was in the 50s?
65.
65, yeah. Yeah, 60s. The early 60s is when that happened. She died in 65 at 16 years old.
Poor girl.
Born in
She's
Lebanon.
beautiful, too. Look at
Yeah.
the picture of her. She's
Yeah,
a
she
beautiful
is.
girl.
Born, well, they were jealous of how beautiful she was.
Yeah.
And the future that she had ahead of her. That sucks, man. Born in Lebanon, Indiana, January 3rd, 1949. Died in Indianapolis, October 26th, 1965. This has been the scary story, true story, made up story episode of the Chelada Boys. We're going to see y'all next week. This is going to be the Halloween banger. Might be a little extra long, so get ready for that. We're going to talk about some serial killer shit and maybe just a couple little extra fun things that we want to talk about. This is a little bit shorter of an episode, so sorry, but get prepped for the next week because it might be a little longer to make up for it. But as per usual, this has been your boy Dylan.
This is Posh.
And if you ain't had your chelada, go get you one. If you don't like it, well, drink it to your right, bro. See y'all.